Sentinel mindset.
And we're just trying to track down their location, and they believe they might be in a vehicle, so they're asking for our help to see if we can get a good eye of the roads there and see if we can find them.
Okay, sounds good. 319 SENTINEL.
Roger.
What's up, everyone? We are here today at Oshawa Executive Airport here with the Air Support Unit with York Regional Police. You're going to find out today what it's like to be part of this unit. What exactly do they do in their job? And we're going to go right into the skies and look from those eyes next on the Sentinel Mindset. Constable Matt Storey, how are you doing today, man?
Not too bad.
Amazing, amazing. I'm so excited that we're part of this. We are right now at Oshawa Executive Airport. We are at the, this is actually one of the bases that York Regional Police kind of has the Air 2.
That's right, that's where we're keeping Air 2 right now.
Okay, and I understand they also have other airports as well. Would it just be like, would Air 2 only be here in Oshawa right now?
It's in Oshawa right now, but that's kind of temporary.
Okay.
We used to operate at Buttonville. We operated at Buttonville for quite a long time.
Okay.
We've had the unit over 20 years, but with the closure of Buttonville, we needed somewhere to go.
Okay.
So we're at Oshawa right now. They've been very generous with us, helping us out, and then we're building a base back in the region.
Amazing.
So we're excited for that. It's going to be kind of purpose-built for Air 2, and it's going to be pretty slick.
Okay, amazing. So now, what division would an Air 2 air support unit be under?
Well, our main mission is patrol support.
Okay.
So with that in mind, we go under the field support unit. We're in with the likes of like the emergency response unit, our canine unit, as well as our public safety. They do kind of public order and then search. We're always working amongst other field support units like that, but our big thing is patrol support. So while we're in the field support, the whole purpose of field support is to support the patrol units on the ground, and that's our main mission for Air 2.
Okay, amazing. Now, not every service has an air support service.
That's right.
Right, so there's only a few that do.
That's right.
So this is actually pretty cool that you guys have it set up. Let me ask you, how does somebody get into a unit like this? Like they can't just apply and get in. They have to kind of do at least their first 4 years.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. You've got to have some time as a police officer. That's a big thing we look for. We're not looking for pilots. We're not looking for specialty aviation skills. We just want somebody who has an interest in it because that helps. But our main thing is you have to be a police officer. You have to have experience being a police officer. You need to know what to do on certain calls, how to triage different calls. As well, you have to be comfortable telling people on the ground, giving them direction, telling them what to do. You have a very unique vantage point where you can see a lot of what's going on that the individual officer on the ground can't. So it's up to you to recognize that, know what information they're going to want to hear, and then actually give it to them.
Okay, good, man. So if I wanted to really join this unit, what are some skills that I would want to develop in my like 4 years of getting to like first class, into a first class constable? If I wanted to join, what would some things you'd be?
Some helpful things would be obviously knowing the region, being aware of what's going on. Skill-wise, being a training officer helps. A lot of our TFOs have been coach officers in the past, and then we've been working long enough that we've ended up acting as acting supervisors, because a lot of the work we do up there is providing kind of direction and guidance to units on the ground. So having that kind of background where you've either taught a young officer what to do, or you've supervised part of your platoon to fill in for a sergeant, those are the kind of skill sets we were kind of drawing.
Okay, and again, I remember talking about it earlier, you do not need to be a pilot or learn how to fly an aircraft to do the work of a tactical, what is the exact terminology? Tactical
flight officer.
You do not need a piloting license for that.
That's correct. So we're crew 2. We have a pilot. There are a civilian helicopter pilot under a civilian contract. The reason we go with the civilian pilot is because they've spent the most time actually flying aircraft, and that's what we need them to do. The tactical flight officer, that's the experienced police officer. And so we work together. So the pilot will get us there, and the tactical flight officer kind of directs them on where we need to be and when, to pick and know what calls to go to. And then the pilot can help us get us there safely in the aircraft. There's all sorts of issues with aviation. You have to worry about things like weather, about other air traffic, things like that. So that's kind of the pilot's wheelhouse, and then we work together helping them get to where we need to go. And then the tactical flight officer, they're relying on that police experience to say this is what we need to do while we're here.
Okay, so the pilot is truly leaning on you for your police expertise.
I would say it's absolutely 50-50.
Okay.
We need the pilot to get there. Without them, we can't even get off the ground.
Right.
And then once we're there, they're leaning on us for our police expertise, but we're working as a team. They're a good set of eyes and ears for us. They help us looking out the window and finding things for us.
Okay.
And sometimes if we're buried in the camera and we're doing something over here, it might be the pilot that notices something that's worth checking out, and they'll let us know.
Okay. So on a typical day for you, like, what does it look like? You just come in, jump in the helicopter, you're flying around. Like, what is a typical day for you?
So again, patrol support's the main thing for Air 2. That's what we want to do. So we come in with helicopters, with aviation, there's things that got to be done. You've got to make sure that aircraft's ready to go. You got to make sure it's gassed up, it's fueled, it's serviceable. So we work with the pilots to do that. We inspect the aircraft. We have a whole regime we go through to make sure everything's going to be safe. We monitor calls for service, but we also go out on patrol. And being out on patrol is the real big thing for us, because that puts us right there when something happens, and that kind of increases our chances of success.
Okay.
Typically, we'll fly several hours for a day shift, several hours for a night shift. Well, obviously, we have to come back for fuel and things like that, but we want to be out there as much as we can.
So how long is a typical flight for before you got to say I got to refuel?
It depends on what we're doing exactly, but we can be up for a couple hours.
Okay.
Usually for most helicopters, it's about 2 to 3 hours.
Okay. Now I have a Jeep, okay, and every day that I'm driving, I can't wait to get into my Jeep. I'm always excited to drive it. Do you have the same thing about flying in the air? Like, are you always like, is the job exciting for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like, we have a lot of things we do, and being in Air 2 is probably one of my most favorite things that I've done in policing. I've been a constable on the road. I've done financial crime. I've done interviews. I've written warrants. I've done search warrants. But being involved in Air 2, it's such an interesting and dynamic environment that it's just, there's nothing beats it.
Wow, man. Can you share like a story of like something that you witness up, like it could be like something is seeing the horizon or something. Like when you're up there, you're seeing something very different than what we see down here, right?
That's right.
Is there anything at all that stands out to you? Like you're like, man, like, you see some unique things up there.
Something just exciting to see is the sunset every night shift when you can get up and you're up there as it's coming down. I mean, that's just a visually amazing event.
Right.
But once you're up there actually seeing the region from the air, it gives you this perspective of exactly how far things actually are and how large certain areas are.
Okay.
And then for us, it's that unique vantage point where, especially when you're dealing with somebody in a vehicle, and that's kind of our bread and butter, is somebody in a vehicle who wants to get away.
Yeah.
And you knowing that no matter how hard they try, you're going to be able to stick with them.
Okay, let's talk about that. Okay,
That's
so
rewarding.
we see chases on TV all the time, right? And at the end of the day, I've actually seen helicopters flying over. You see it, and I'm like, really, how can they track a vehicle, you know, if they tries to maybe hide or cut a chase? You can see, as you said, everything up there. Like,
That's
there's
right.
really no escaping.
So the irony is the helicopters were brought in so that we were not going to chase anybody. Because that was the big thing back in the day, was police pursuits and people getting hurt as a result of police pursuits.
Right.
So the helicopter were brought in to help with that, and that's where we can take over the ground units. Nobody has to drive as fast as that guy is, so we don't have to outdrive anybody. We can follow them in the aircraft. We can take them to wherever they're going to go, and the whole time anybody's driving like that, they're leaving a trail of evidence everywhere they go.
Okay.
And we're providing those observations, and sometimes we're guiding units in to make an arrest that night. Sometimes we're giving a great big package of evidence for the investigators so that they can knock on a door a couple days later and say, hey, tell you what, yeah, helicopter was on you the whole time, and this is what we got.
Do you get like an adrenaline rush when you're like, because to be able to catch someone or catch someone doing something and be able to use the resources of the air, do you get like an adrenaline rush? Like it gets exciting for you because you're starting to see it, tie it all together?
You'd be lying to say it's not exciting.
Right.
And you absolutely, especially on a very dynamic event where you've got a bunch of different units relying on you. You've got your duty inspector, who's kind of the top officer in the region that night, following your every move.
Right.
It gets pretty exciting. But at the same time, you rely on the training to kind of calm things down.
Okay.
If you imagine if you're in a vehicle in a police pursuit, that can be pretty exciting. That could be a little jarring, perhaps. So what we do is we actually try to remain calm and cool and collected over the air, because we're not at risk.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm up in a helicopter. Nobody's chasing me.
Right.
So I have the option or the ability to kind of tone it down. Let's calm everything down, and I'll just give everybody a nice, clean, clear,
Calm, yeah.
calm environment to
Yeah,
work in.
yeah.
And that just kind of brings everybody down, and it really helps.
Matt, let me ask you this: are helicopters like considered safe? And I know it could be like you know, you hear of odds of things happening, but to me, like, that's always something that goes in my mind is like safety. Do you ever have in your mind like this is like a safe experience as a profession?
Well, I've never had a problem with that. Aviation is inherently has risks. So things like weather, there are mechanical issues. But the thing is, you just have to mitigate the risk. We know how to read weather. We know how to look at forecasts. We know what we can do in the helicopter and what we can't. We know what's legal and what's not. We know what the aviation regulations are, and those are all built towards keeping everything safe. So we follow those.
Okay.
As far as mechanical wise, we have engineers that are dedicated to their craft, and they're very professional. They're not out there just kind of doing any guesswork. They rely on a huge network of other engineers. So we have a very well-maintained aircraft. It's a very reliable aircraft, which is why it was selected. And then obviously having very well-maintained, reliable aircraft combined with professionals who are using it for a certain purpose, and also have the discipline to say no if we are in a situation where, hey, there's some poor weather coming in, even though you guys really want us. Unfortunately, we just can't help today.
Okay, no, that's good, man. You talked about weather. Okay, now, do you fly all year round?
We do. We fly all year round. We don't fly in every weather.
Okay, so give me an example of some weather you try to avoid. Like if it's a snowstorm, I'm assuming you're not going up there.
Yeah, so think of it this way. If you're in your patrol car and you're looking up and you can't see the top of the building,
right,
there's a good chance the helicopter's not going to be able to help you out that
okay
day. And then other things like thunderstorms, things like that, certain winds. There's a whole kind of list of limitations that we follow. So if anything crosses that line, it's like that's a no-go for us.
Okay, okay, interesting. So we are right now behind Air 2.
That's right.
Do you care to do like a little tour of what exactly, like for example, I noticed little gadgets are sticking at the bottom of this. You care to give us a little tour of what exactly things do?
Yeah, that's no problem. So Air 2, I'll just start with, it's an Airbus helicopter. It's an H125. If you just Google police helicopter, and you're going to see H125s. If you're watching any recent movies like the Beverly Hills stuff, things like that,
yeah,
there's H125s that they're operating. It's picked because it's a good platform to put some cameras on it, get some police officers in there, and do a lot of law enforcement. So what we have at the front, that's called the MX-10. That's it's an infrared camera. It also has a daytime video, and it operates on a gimbal that we control in the helicopter. So that's where we get the video you see of the vehicles driving around.
Okay.
And then the infrared that's the thermal. That's the difference in temperature that it's seeing.
So you can catch body heat, for example.
So yeah, that's right. So when you have somebody who's trying to run away, even though they're in the dark, we've got them on the thermal camera. That's where you see those videos of them hopping backyard fences and things like that, and we're sticking with them.
And that records in clear image for you?
It's very clear. Yeah, it's a high definition camera. Obviously there's certain things are missing, like colors and stuff, because it's the body heat that it's picking up, but it can get such detail. It can find the difference between a sleeve and a hand and things like that. So
wow,
you can tell if they're wearing short sleeves, long sleeves, that kind of thing. It really pays off when you have, for us, it's say the middle of the winter and you have an elderly person that walks away from their house or group home, something like that. If they're out and they're just walking a straight line due to their Alzheimer's, if it's especially in the middle of the winter and it's cold, it's a threat to them, but it's a benefit for us for the camera, because we can go out there, use the thermal camera, and we can pick them off if they're out in the middle of a field and the pitch black. They'll glow. So
this is like, for example, what a call could be like if something like that happens. Wow, I had no idea. In my mind, I thought it was only for one specific type of call, like an actual chase or something of that sort.
No, I mean, that was the reason it was originally brought in back in the 1990s. But every year we're finding people who've they're lost, they're despondent, or they have dementia, they don't know where they are, they've left in the middle of the night, and we've been able to check the area for them and find them using the infrared camera.
Wow, that's a huge asset.
Absolutely.
Now, marijuana is legal in Canada right now,
right?
But I'm pretty sure these can also pick up with heat grow-ups that are happening, right? Especially illegal ones.
Yeah, it's one of the tools you can use for that. I mean, you're also in an aircraft. You can just look out the window and see when you have an outdoor marijuana grow up.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, it could be used for that.
Right.
We have used it in the past. It's just kind of one of the mission sets that we have. Like you mentioned before, with following vehicles, finding missing people. That's also something we have in our toolbox.
Okay, nice. What else? You got looks like a big spotlight there. It looks like at the bottom.
So on the opposite the camera, that's a downlink antenna.
Okay.
So that's really good for our command and control staff, because we can take our video and we can microwave it to our headquarters, and our headquarters can see what we're seeing in the aircraft in real time.
Okay.
With a delay of a second or two.
Okay.
So that's really helpful when we're managing a large incident, and that also helps kind of take everything down a notch, because silence is a vacuum everybody wants to fill with speculation. So
right.
If a unit says they're on scene to something and it came in as a really hot call and there's nothing on the air, everybody's worried that that unit's in the middle of something. But if we're on scene as well, we're telling everybody what's going on, and we've got the downlink going with the camera, and now our duty inspector knows, well, everything's good.
Okay.
Those officers are just chatting with that person, everything's calm. Everybody else can kind of ease off a bit. The spotlight you mentioned is actually on the back here.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So that's a track of light. It's in the millions of candle power when you get up to that level.
Yeah, yeah.
It has different filters on it. We can change colors, things like that, but it's really there to illuminate a scene. And it really helps when you have an officer who says, hey, I'm dealing with a couple people here. Backups from the ground still coming. We can put that light on and we can just change the mood entirely.
Okay.
And we can really,
wow.
We have a group of people and say, hey, the police are here, the helicopter's here, and they're watching what you're doing. You can see the behavior change right in front of you.
Interesting. So while the pilot is piloting,
right,
are you the one that's controlling all the gear inside?
Yeah, I'm usually working the camera.
Okay.
I'll work the spotlight. The pilot can help out if they need to, but we have a whole bunch of tactics we use with both. And the pilot, what their job is especially helpful for us is how do you get the best view? So they'll position the aircraft so that myself as the tactical flight officer have the greatest view outside. And so if the scene's moving, if it's a car, for instance, they'll reposition and fly a very specific profile so that I can see and do my job more effectively.
Wow, man. Do you also have a microphone on this, like an external speaker?
Yeah, if you see on the side there with the little yellow triangles.
Yes.
So that's a kind of a directional public address system.
Yeah.
We can do announcements. We can do pre-recorded messages. We can just say, hey, help is on the way. If we're in a situation where somebody's lost in the woods, we can maybe give them direction to how to get out.
And is it loud?
It is. It's directional. So as long as, again, the pilot will position the aircraft in the right spot, we can talk to that person.
And you're usually the person on the mic?
Yeah, and we'll have a setup where we can say something and it'll go out over there.
Nice, nice. Maybe we can try that inside.
Yeah, you can.
Nice, very cool. Is there anything else on the outside before we go inside?
No, that's kind of it for police equipment. Yeah, other than you've got the cameras, the downlink, the PA system, and the tracker beam. The rest of it is just the helicopter stuff. You got the rotors, the tail rotors, all that.
Okay, why don't we jump inside and you can give me like a little tour of the inside?
Sure.
All right, let's go ahead. All right, so we're inside right now, the Air 2. We're in behind the cockpit section. Maybe you can give me a little bit of idea like what we're looking at here right now. So we have two screens.
That's right. So I'm sitting in the pilot's seat. You're in my spot. That's for the tactical flight officer. So we split the cockpit into two parts. So the right side here, that's all for the pilot, and the left side's for the tactical flight officer. And then we're kind of split down the middle. We share some things here. So H-125 helicopter, it comes with all the kit you need. It has a very good instrument system for flying, autopilot, aviation radio, GPS, so you can tell where you're going, all that good stuff.
Right.
On the other side, we've got a police radio. We've got a screen for what the camera can see.
Okay.
We have an audio panel so that we can pick what police radio channels, what aviation channels we want to listen to. We can talk on our cell phone through our Blue Link.
Okay.
We have all sorts of capability there. We've got a spotlight, and that's the searchlight controls.
Yes.
And then we have, and it almost looks like a video game controller, but that's for the camera system.
Okay.
So if you're used to playing on the Xbox or PlayStation, it's almost the exact same thing.
Wow.
You've got a little trackpad that you aim the camera with, and then we have all these switches we get these nice hard kind of commercial grade switches. So
Right.
that's to change from the infrared to the daytime, to zoom
Okay.
in, to zoom out. There's all sorts of different camera modes we can use.
Okay.
And then we can also clean up the image a bit
Wow.
if we need to focus, things like that.
Nice, nice. So typically speaking, when you guys are like looking around, you're just using all the windows to look like everywhere basically you're utilizing, plus the cameras that you can use here.
That's right. I think the biggest tool we have is just our eyeballs.
Okay.
And we've got a special door that for the tactical flight officer where we can actually just see clear as day right out all the way down in between the skids.
Okay.
And you have a really good view of what's going on outside the aircraft.
Okay.
As well, we've got the nice big helicopter canopies, so they're always wide open. And it's really, it's what the aircrew sees from the aircraft, and then they can kind of investigate it with the camera.
Okay, I see.
It's kind of like if you didn't have the windows, you'd be searching for things through a soda straw.
Oh,
Right? So
okay.
it'd be just that much harder to find it.
Okay.
So when people make the comparison to like think of drones and things like that, just using a camera to search isn't very efficient.
Right.
But being able to look outside the aircraft, have a big picture of what's going on,
Okay.
and then just using the camera to zoom in on certain details that you want.
Nice. Any other pieces of equipment here that are regular use for you? I mean, I noticed that there's a big screen here with an iPad, it looks like, on the
That's
back.
right. So that screen is when we have somebody in the back seat. So if we have a second TFO,
Yeah.
or if we're training a new person, we'll put the experienced TFO in the back so that their screen mirrors what the TFO in the front can see.
Okay.
And then that way, if they can see how they're using the camera and make any adjustments as needed. We have controls for our public address system.
Yeah.
So that's where we can send messages out over the loudspeakers. We also have a siren and a helicopter, which I think is pretty wild.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. When we get a chance to fly up, how high are we going to go before we start? Like how high do you have to be altitude-wise?
Normally we fly about 1,000 feet.
Okay.
And that's kind of normal for helicopters. You don't want to go too high because you also have airport traffic, things like that. And you don't want to go too low because for one, it's a nuisance. It's a helicopter. Helicopters can be loud. You don't want to buzz over somebody's head. But also you want to have that safety margin just in case. And it goes back to flying professionally, things like that.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. With drones,
Right.
drones are not, they're illegal to fly. It's a certain amount. Have you ever been up in the sky and you've seen a drone fly by you?
Well, we
in your-
have. We have seen drones. Drones aren't supposed to be above 400 feet. That's under the aviation regulations, but people do what they want to do sometimes.
But they don't understand how dangerous it is when
That's
they're
right.
flying it up there.
Yeah, it's a serious hazard to aircraft. You have to be careful where you are. You can't fly drones within airfields. You can't fly them above 400 feet. There's a lot of regulations.
Okay, okay. Well, let's fly up and hopefully we won't see any drones. All right, let's do it up. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Air Support Unit with our Tactical Flight Officer, Matthew Storey. Next week, we're going to be actually flying to the skies. You don't want to miss this episode as we get to see a bird's eye view of York Regional Police and everything that they do from above. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic day and stay safe. Thank you for joining me in today's podcast. This podcast was created for protectors in the fields of law enforcement, executive protection, security, and anyone looking to level up their mindset. If you are learning from this podcast and you're enjoying it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Sentinel Mindset. That's a zero-cost way to support us. In addition, please subscribe to the podcast both on Spotify and Apple. And on both Spotify and Apple, you can leave us up to a 5-star review. If you have questions for me or comments about the podcast or guests you would like me to consider on the Sentinel Mindset, please post all comments on YouTube. I do read all the comments. Please also check out our sponsors, thearenatoronto.com. The Arena was created to help all those in the fields of law enforcement, security, and all that achieve their fitness goals. I want to thank our producer, Matthew Doyle, and creative supports, Jaslene Singh, who help me with this podcast every week. We value your feedback and are here to support you. Tune into the Sentinel Mindset every week where we look in the mirror to make real changes and explore what it takes to achieve greatness in your craft.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.